Hi, good evening. My name is David, and today I am running, or I'm facilitating, I should say, a session of Good Society. Good Society is a story game of sort of based on Regency novels, such as those by Jane Austen. That's all about the trials and tribulations of the members of the English gentry, romance, scheming, revenge, all that sort of stuff. This is a game by Haley and V of Story Brewers Role Playing. I have put a link to where you can find out more about the game down below if you want to check out more about it. And this game is being arranged through the Gauntlet online gaming calendar. The Gauntlet's an online role-playing group. We, as I said, we have a gaming calendar where you can sign up for games much like this one and play them online with us all. We also have a number of podcasts. We have a monthly gaming magazine called Codex. We have forums as well. You can chat about stuff. You can check out information on all that stuff at the website at gauntlet-rpg.com. Again, I'll put a link to that down below. So with that very brief introduction done, I will get on to where we were last time, what we're up to this week, and then we'll introduce characters and get going. So yeah, as I said, we're as Good Society is a game of Regency shenanigans, and our game is taking place in the Peak District in Derbyshire. We last time had a very brief sort of introductory couple of scenes to our characters at a funeral for the most recent husband of Modesty Montgomery. We sort of got to see a little bit of everyone's characters last time. We had our first novel chapter. We also had our first, just kind of in the upkeep of that, our first reputation phase. So what we'll be doing in a moment, once we get leapt back into things, is going to our rumor and scandal phase. We'll introduce that, we'll go through that, and then we'll carry on through the cycle as usual. So yeah, with all that said and done, we will I'll ask everyone to introduce their characters, tell us a little bit about them, a little bit about what happened sort of last time, and yeah, we'll pick things up from there. So I'll start with in the usual manner by going to our character keeper and starting with yourself, Kieran, if that's okay.
Hi, I'm Kieran. I'm usually here. I'm playing Eva Gracefield, eldest daughter but not oldest child of the Greenfield family, who is in perpetual disgrace. It's a mess of drunken uncles, completely useless cousins, a particularly dissolute older brother, and I've been trying to find suitable homes for them all. However, having aged the awful age of 26 and still unmarried, I've got designs on disinheriting my older brother Nathaniel. I have genuinely been actively worried about everyone else and the possible disgraceful friendships I've seen brewing. And I can't believe what my brother was doing at that funeral.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Anders, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, I am playing said brother, Nathaniel Gracefield, who was merely trying to comfort the poor grieving widow and not at all intent on causing any kind of scandal or engage in inappropriate behavior. It's merely a misunderstanding, and it's fine. Yeah, everything's fine.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, next is myself. So as I said, yeah, my name's David. I use he, him pronouns. And I am playing Isaac Arkwright, who also uses he, him pronouns. Isaac Arkwright is the son of a Salford mill owner. wealthy but of no particular breeding. Isaac has been sent off to have a good education, as best as his father can afford, and is now sort of newly arrived on the scene, looking. His main goal is at the moment, or certainly his main goal on behalf of his family, is looking for a suitable wife who will perhaps help him achieve a higher level of society than his wealth alone affords him. And last time we saw little of Isaac, just his arrival in the village as the funeral was kind of letting out. But I am sure that we will see a bit more of him this time. So thank you. I don't know, I'm thanking myself, but yeah, David, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, my name is also David, he, him pronouns, and I am playing as Lady Abigail Nash. She is a 19-year-old high society girl who has recently been forced into the house of her aunt and uncle because her father has been incarcerated for some very, very shady reason that surely he did not deserve. Lady Abigail Nash thoroughly blames Eva Gracefield for the incarceration of her father and is currently embroiled in a bitter revenge plot in an effort to exact some retribution.
Lovely, thank you. And last but not least, Robbie, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you'll be playing.
My name is Robbie. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing Lempster Marwood, who uses he, him pronouns. He's 25 years old. He's part of old money, although since that the elder members of his family are perhaps not entirely happy with Lempster, feel like he has perhaps squandered some of the money. I think Lempster, when he was kind of required to make an accounting of that, tried to kind of shift some blame onto Isaac Arkwright, who, being from new money, seemed kind of convenient to say that, oh, he had something to do with my squandering of money, and that has kind of burned some bridges between me and Isaac. I have had a long sojourn to Europe that lasted far longer than would be normal, and people perhaps are wondering a little bit what exactly I was up to, and that would kind of lead us into at least one of the rumors, which is that Lempster has gotten himself involved with some type of secret society or a cult group or something, but who knows if that's true or not.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, as I said, today we will be starting off in the rumor phase. So the way this works is that we will we have, if you'll see on the rumor and scandal tab, we have just a list here of lines where we can enter new rumors as they crop up. I'll just briefly explain sort of what we have a couple of different tick boxes here. One is to say that a rumor has been spread. One is to say that a rumor is fading. What this signifies essentially is if a rumor has been spread, this means it's something that is actively being talked about amongst society. Whether or not that rumor is actually true is completely immaterial. It does not matter one bit. That people believe it is true is enough. If a rumor has been spread, this can be used a bit like I think we discussed this briefly last time, but a bit like with a negative reputation trait, it can be used if there is a kind of a way that you can bring that rumor into a scene. You can sort of cash it in essentially for a reputation point. So that is kind of what they are used for. That can only happen once they're spread. But what we'll be doing here is we'll go around and we do this. I think we do officially do this snake style. So we kind of go across the character keeper in one direction, then back the other way. But what we'll do is we'll each take turns. What we can do is either suggest a new rumor, or we can choose to spread a rumor that has already been suggested. So. And we'll do that. Like I said, we'll go one way and then back the other. The rumor that you spread, sorry, the rumor that you come up with, I should say, because the spreading has a mechanical term, so I'll try not to use that out of turn. So when you create a rumor, it can be about anything. It can be about your character. It can be about another character. It can be about something else entirely, though obviously it should ideally be something that we can have some sort of impact on our game. And as I said, this doesn't have to be something that is based in fact, though it might be suggestive of something that did actually happen, or what could have been perceived to have happened in one of our previous scenes, but it doesn't need to be directly linked to that. So for instance, we could create a rumor that Nathaniel Gracefield is trying to woo the widow, and that could be a rumor that we started, and that seems to kind of follow on very neatly from what happened. Or it could be something like, it is rumored that the war with France is going to pick up again, and that may or may not have impact further down the line. So that's sort of what we're going to be doing there. So yeah, I will go back. As I said, I will start. I'll go start left to right again, but then we'll go back the other way after our first round. So yeah, if that's okay with you, then Kieran, we'll start with yourself. If you would like to suggest, I mean, obviously you could suggest or spread a rumor, but because at the minute we do not have any unspread rumors on the table, it will be down to you to suggest our first rumor.
I'll just well, I'm sort of basic. In fact, as many quotation marks as we can there is I do believe Abigail was Lady Abigail Nash seen consulting with occultists. Let's get that. I think that's simple. And what does this possibly mean?
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So yeah, if you want to add that to the list. So at this point, to Anders, so it says yourself again. If you wish, you can spread that rumor, which kind of means that is definitely something that's being talked about, or you can suggest another rumor that you would like to add to the board.
We already had this rumor about Lempster, right? Was that something from character creation?
That is from character creation, and that rumor is already spread. So yep.
Yeah, cool. Let's find the characters. Yeah, I think I am going to spread that rumor. It sounds like fun. I'll spread that.
Awesome. So next, it is me now, and yeah, again, at this point, yeah, as I said, I will have to come up with a rumor of my own, but I was planning to anyway, I think, and I think I'm going to kind of build off of the arrival of Isaac into here, and I think actually I'm going to kind of play as well, maybe a little bit off of the falling out with Lempster, and I think I'm going to say that there is a rumor that Isaac has left London because he was embezzling funds from the firm he was working at. Cool. So yeah, David, if you'd like to suggest another rumor or spread that rumor I've just suggested.
Yeah, I've got a couple rumors I'm thinking of adding, but I can only pick one. So
for the moment, anyway, you'll have another chance to add another in a second. I'll
Okay.
explain in a second as well about how these rumors come about. But yeah, we'll see that in a moment.
Okay, I'll start with the most core and personal one and then expand outward. So I will say that there is a rumor that Eva is horribly jealous of Lady Abigail's social standing and is quite bitter towards Lady Abigail's family, but essentially just jealous of the whole family. And then from there, perhaps I'll expand into the rumor that Eva had something to do with the father's incarceration, but we'll start small.
Yep. Awesome, thank you. So yeah, Robbie, you are up next, and you will get 2 goes in a row essentially. So you can spread an existing rumor if you want that has not yet been spread, or you can suggest your own. You can do both. You can suggest a rumor and then spread it if you wish. But yeah.
Okay, so a rumor that I would suggest, kind of playing off of an idea from last session, would be the rumor that Modesty and her former husband had a rocky marriage, and that this death at sea has a kind of cloud over it, so that it's possible that the former husband maybe really didn't meet his demise at sea. That perhaps it was a convenient way for him to get out of the marriage or something like that.
Awesome.
And then it's back to me. I'll type that up in a second.
It's worth noting Eva's one shouldn't be, the Eva rumor shouldn't be ticked because no one spread it yet.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yep. But yes, sorry, Robbie, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, and let's see, for my other one, I thought I had a...
Yeah, and that's if you wish to spread an existing rumor, that's cool as well. You don't have to come up with 2 necessarily.
Right.
What happens if we don't spread a rumor? Because I've read the rules, and do they just disappear? Because that's what I got the impression of.
Not quite, but almost. Basically, if so, what we'll do is once we've gone through this thing, the next step of this turn is that we we get rid of any rumors that are fading, which we won't have any of yet. And then after that step, we mark any ones that haven't been spread this turn as fading. So essentially, next rumor phase, if they don't get spread, then they disappear. People stop talking about it. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think what I mean, maybe I'll just go on and spread the rumor that I created.
Yep, that's absolutely cool. That is fine. Perfect. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, David, your next turn again. You can either spread a rumor that's already been established or create a new one. Your choice. Oh, so is David not there?
David noted in chat that he had to step away for a few.
Oh, no worries. Sorry, I missed that. So I'm terrible at keeping up with the chat when I'm. Yeah, no worries. I will. No, that's cool. I will. In which case, come back around to me. So I'm going to suggest another rumor, and I think. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with. Yeah, I will link that one in. I think I'm going to say there is a rumor that Lord Davenport is coming to town in search of a wife. The very eligible. I will add on to that. Cool. Oh, hi, David. Welcome back. I was going to say, if you want, you can, as I said, you can either add an additional rumor if you wish, or you can choose to spread one of the rumors that's already been established, whether that's by yourself or someone else.
Got it. And mechanically speaking, what's the effect of spreading?
Spreading. So essentially, spreading it means that that is kind of definitely a subject of conversation, and it gives it some sort of mechanical heft. As I say, it can be used kind of essentially in lieu of a resolve token for doing certain things relating to that rumor. If it is not spread this turn, it will be marked as fading, which means that it will be kind of it's still something that is being talked about, but next time we have a rumor phase, if it isn't then spread, then it will essentially drop off of the drop out of people's notice and attention.
Got it. In that case, I will go ahead and spread the rumor that I came up with about Eva.
Awesome. So yeah, Anders, you can again either, if you wish to add a new rumor, you can, or you can spread one of these ones that we have already on the table.
I'm going to add a rumor. I think I mentioned in passing last time that Nathaniel was married in France, and nobody knows what happened to his wife.
Awesome. I like that. Thank you. And finally, background to you, Kieran. Again, you can either introduce a new rumor if you would like, or spread one of these ones that's already available.
I'm being a buffoon here. I can't remember who Lord Davenport is, or is Lord Davenport just a new rumor?
Lord Davenport is one of my connections.
Sorry, I haven't scrolled down far enough.
Yeah, that's
the problem. Sorry, I've looked everywhere but there. So I am being a buffoon. I will. I'm going to spread Nathaniel's one, actually. Nathaniel was married in France. Let's go with that one. And I can't believe that, brother.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm now going to mark the ones that we haven't chosen as fading. So these, as I said, these are still possibly topics of conversation. These are still things that people are kind of generally aware of as a rumor, as gossip, but don't have any mechanical heft to them. Those rumors that are marked as spread, we can, you said you can essentially use them in place of a resource token of your own when doing something that kind of pertains to that rumor. So for instance, if you wanted to say have the local vicar berate Lempster for his heathen ways, you could kind of, rather than spending a resource token to have like the vicar turn up at an inopportune time, you could cash in that become a member of a secret society rumor. That then sort of essentially gets crossed out on the sheet. It may still be something that people are talking about. Obviously, the kind of the dramatic reveal of that rumor has been used up at that point. So that is kind of the what happens there. So that is our rumor. As I said, if we had some ones marked as fading already, we would have removed those at this point as well, but we didn't at this stage. So next is our after our rumor and scandal phase is our epistolary phase. So the way this one works is that we'll each get a turn. Well, we'll each get 2 turns, I should say, to frame a. Mostly these are vignette type scenes. In the sort of the vanilla version of the game, which we're mostly using, these are always framed as a letter between 2 characters. So you will frame you'll kind of obviously frame your character addressing a letter to another character, which may be one that's actually played. It may be a connection. It may even be a complete third party. And that's, you just kind of narrate what you have written in that letter, or the gist of what you've written in that letter, depending on how up to extemporaneously composing letters you are feeling at the time. So that's kind of the default version of it. And this can be from this can be from your main character. It can also be from one of your connections if you wish. You can have them write a letter as well. And again, that can also be, you can essentially have a letter from one of your connections to your main character, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter sort of who that's coming from. If you can use this to kind of as well in these letters, because this is kind of to cover that whole, the classic thing of those sort of Regency novels and others of that ilk, where this is the sort of thing where it's like, obviously, if this were taking place at the heart of the Napoleonic Wars, this might be the point where you write, yes, and then I fought in the battle and was incredibly heroic. We're obviously not going to see that on scene because this isn't sharp the role-playing game, but you can use it to kind of cover off anything that you just want to have happen, and for us to not really play it through. You can have things happen. If it is something that's fairly important or significant, it will still cost you a reputation token to do. Likewise, if you are going to write a letter from your character to like, say for instance, I could write a letter. I mean, again, this gets a little bit weird. Well, actually, sorry, it wouldn't be me. So technically, like, say for instance, whoever is playing my father, I forget off the top of my head. So yeah, Anders could write a letter from my father to Isaac, saying, oh, because of your spendthrift ways, I'm cutting off your allowance, and so on and so forth. And again, they would have to spend a token on that to enter into the negotiation thing to make sure that's all okay, and to kind of give that some heft. But so that's an option that's available to you there. I will also at this point mention, I think I very briefly touched on these last time. Everyone also has a single monologue token that can be used to kind of get a ask somebody to kind of give some the internal thoughts of their character. This can be spent during this phase as well. So you might say, actually, I'm really interested in seeing you write a letter to somebody spilling out your heart or whatever, or even just give the monologue of what they're actually thinking, as opposed to the letter that they are writing, that sort of thing. We don't have to do that now, but that is another option that's available to you, is using those monologue tokens. Cool. So we don't have to go through this in any particular order. So I'm just going to ask if anyone would like to start with their first. Oh, sorry. I skipped ahead of myself there. I talked about like the default thing, because we had a bit of a chat about this last time. There are a couple of other options that we have available from the epistolary actions from the Emma playset that give us a as I say, just a couple of extra things that we can do with our epistolary phase rather than just writing a letter. One of these is very, very similar to the letter anyway, is that we can, if you wish, just write like a journal entry rather than a letter directed at someone. If you just want to kind of give your character's thoughts on what's happened, you can just use a journal entry. You can describe a dream or a nightmare that your character has. Or finally, you can have a weather interlude. These are a little bit more involved, or not in terms of what you're doing, but the idea is that you frame a scene where you're in a particular type of weather or time of day, and depending on which one you pick, gives you sort of the indication of what that scene will be like, and what you'll be doing in it. I won't go through all of those in great detail right at this moment, but we'll touch on those if people are interested in them. You'll see just on the very right of the character keeper, down sort of halfway downish, about where the connections are. I've listed the options for those weather interludes. Quickly speaking, you have dawn, dusk, and day as the three sort of time period ones, and then overcast and storm as the sort of weather ones, and each one of those gives you a slightly different type of scene to frame out. So now I'm actually at the point where I thought I was. So yeah, does anyone have an idea for an initial scene that they would like to do, whether that be a letter or something else? No? Cool. In which case I will start off. I will, I think that this is just going to be quite simply a letter from Isaac to Lady Nash. The letter begins, my dearest Lady Nash, I am just writing to let you know that I have arrived in the village of Neemsley, and I have taken accommodations at the inn in town. I hope that you are well. I should very much like to call upon you at some stage at a time that is, of course, convenient to you. I would not like to impose, of course, but it would be a joy to catch up with you. It has been some time since last we spoke, and I have much news to convey. For the time being, please, if you do wish to contact me, you can send any messages here to the inn, and I am sure they will reach me. All the very best, your friend Isaac. Cool. So does someone else have an idea for a scene of some variety?
I may have something actually.
Mm.
I feel bad because it's someone who isn't a connection, but I think it might be useful as a kind of sort of something that might come back.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Letter. Dear Lord Nash, I'm uncertain when this letter will actually reach you in the colonies. Transportation is a very long time, and these letters may be delayed, lost, and similar. However, I'm writing out of concern of your lovely daughter, Abigail. I fear she might be quite distraught, considering she has you have abandoned your parental duties to your duties to the state. And I fear she may be following you down that particularly dark and dangerous path that you trod. I urge you to write and to stay away from dangerous men. I know you've travelled, and travel broadens the mind, but I fear your mind is broad enough already. Narrow her mind. Keep her on a safe path. I beg you, Lord Nash, I beg you. Yours faithfully, Eva Green.
Awesome. Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, no, and also, yeah, I should say, yeah, the certainly definitely the addressee of letters definitely doesn't need to be one of your connections anyway, so that's not a problem at all. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, did anyone else have another either a communication or just a little vignette scene they would like to do?
Yeah, I think I have a letter from Tabitha to Abigail. Let me see, just to make sure I don't miss anything here. Yeah. Dearest Abby, having a lovely time at Aunt Hortense's. We go riding most every day. They breed the horses very big here. It's a bit frightening, but whenever I think of how you would handle these powerful beasts, I feel more assured and trust that even someone such as myself can overcome these great obstacles that are placed in my path. The marmalade is a bit on the sour side. Hope to see you soon, Tabitha.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah, Robbie, David, did either of you have thoughts for a little scene?
I have an idea, and this would be, I'm not going to be able to recite this poem, but I'm imagining a scene with Edgar Gracefield, the wild-haired Coleridge meets Byron force of nature, who has been working on, like, inspired by the recent funeral, has been working on a poem which I imagine this to be like, you know, at night after the funeral, he kind of pulls out a sheet of paper that he has been writing on, and recites to you know, a group of people kind of drinking and getting ready to turn in for the night. He's perhaps a little tipsy himself, and the poem starts off describing a kind of storm at sea, and these dark clouds and waves that are buffeting this ship that is at sea, and they don't use the actual names of Modesty Montgomery and right, the names have all been changed, but you know, he's kind of describing in this kind of storm at sea that this person on the deck of this ship who has, you know, comparing the stormy ocean to his own personal woes, and you know, as he's kind of yelling out to the sky of how, you know, his life has kind of thrown him many twists and turns, and that he just doesn't know what to do, and he feels like he is like this ship that is being kind of buffeted by these winds and kind of racked by these waves, and that kind of struck by how fitting it is that he, with his personal turmoil, would be on this ship that has its own kind of physical turmoil to deal with.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and David, do you have an idea of something you want to bring in?
I've got an idea. I don't know how I would narrate it necessarily, but I was thinking about maybe a letter from Esther to Lempster, somewhat naively saying that, oh, my father asks that we meet so that we might discuss the union of our two families, and just apply a little bit of pressure onto Lempster to either saddle up with Esther or reject her, causing a big scandal. So I suppose the contents of the letter would be something to the effect of, my dear Lempster, I write to you with, the greatest of joys, as my father has informed me that he wishes for our families to join in the blessed union of matrimony sooner than previously anticipated. My father beckons you to our estate at this particular time and date, that we may further discuss the joining of our families and celebrate a most happy occasion. Please do write back that we might, confirm this further, or something to that effect. Dearest Esther.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that is cool. Perfect, thank you. So yeah, we will now have another chance to do a second scene. I think I know what I want to do for my second one. So unless anyone else wishes to jump in first, I will go ahead with that. Awesome. So yeah, I think the scene that we see of Isaac is, I'm actually going to pick one of the weather interludes, and I'm going to have a dawn scene. Yeah, I think we see kind of just the very the sun rising over this valley between sort of steep green but rocky hills of the peaks. Sort of down in the valley is this big stone coaching in, and just as the lights sort of start to filter in through the windows of the inn, we see Isaac already sort of getting up and just sort of throwing on a pair of breeches and a shirt, pulling on some boots as he goes to sort of just take a walk outside the inn. So with these weather interludes, they each sort of, like I said, each time of day or weather type has some specific requirements. So for dawn, which is what I'm going for, this is delivered as a monologue on the theme of new hope. So I think we see Isaac striding out into the sort of dewy morning fields as the sort of light beginning to bathe them. Sort of taking in a deep breath. So refreshing to be breathing the fresh air of the countryside after time spent down in the press of London. It's been difficult trying to get ahead with no name to speak of, as many doors I have opened, but maybe here I can get a new start and get some acceptance and maybe even I will find a lady here who will take me as her husband, and together we can start a new life and make something of ourselves. And just get that sort of shot of kind of leaning up against a stile, looking out over the hillside as the sun creeps its way across. So does someone else have a second thing they would like to do? Anders, was that a nod from you there?
Yeah, I have an idea for a letter from Sydney to the Reverend Spencer Collingwood. To the residing clergyman of Peak Village. My son has recently arrived in your village, and I am troubled to hear terrible rumors about all sorts of moral corruption and strange behavior going on. As a man of God, I trust you to watch over your flock in all ways, but I would ask you to perhaps look in on my dear son and make sure he does not get involved in anything inappropriate or scandalous. Not that I have any suspicion that he would, but with these sorts of people running around, you never know what an impressionable young man could get into. Sincerely, Sydney Arkwright.
Awesome, thank you. I think as well, actually, that's possibly an apt time. Would you like to spend a resolve token from Sydney Arkwright to get the Reverend to commit to that?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
And to clarify, that's the Reverend committing to really pushing Isaac to get his life right, for lack of a better way of phrasing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight and narrow.
That works for me.
Awesome. You'll get that token call that's already been updated. Perfect. Does someone else have another epistolary scene they would like to do?
I was going to do a letter from Spencer, so it seems to be kind of that might work. It's Spencer to Eva, as in oh dear Eva, these are. I'm heartbroken.
Ooh, sorry, just that I think for that
I can't do that.
That's that. Yeah,
so I meant to ask. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, because someone else controls that connection. You wouldn't be able to do you wouldn't be able to narrate for them. You would be able to do like a response from Ava to the Reverend that implies an earlier one, but yeah, not one directly. Or again, obviously you could offer David a resolve token to have them use one of their things to do that letter, as it were. But yeah.
I think I get most of it from Eva. Actually, I'll just do Eva writing to the. I'll do it Eva writing, and possibly there might be a token spent in here, but please tell me if there's a token in here.
Yep, sure thing.
Oh dear Reverend, my heart is broken. I feel like I'm a lighthouse in a stormy sea. and all there is ships on the rock, metaphorically and literally. I know I'm not the I'm merely the first mate of the good ship Gracefield. And my dear brother Nathaniel is a foolish, is a foolish captain in charge, and he will sink us all. I do not. This is where I think I have to spare the token. I know you've urged me to try to work out a way to secure the family household, and I know you've urged me to do this solely for the benefit of the family. Nathaniel will destroy it all, and we both know this. It's in the same way as destroyed many things time over. This is for the good of him as well. I would not abandon him as he would abandon his many wives in Europe, as I understand. But it pains me so. This is a distinctly unchristian path. I am tempted to follow in Christian sanctity, and my soul is unhappy. I do not sleep well. Yours faithfully, Eva. Is it worth spending a token? Because I've implied that he's sort of tried to convince Eva to feel this, and that's where I think there might be a token.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Does that sound okay to you, David?
Yeah, and when you say feel this, could you spell it for me one more time? What the specific implication is being made?
The implication is Eva, if the vicar has convinced Eva that it's the Christian thing to do to disinherit Nathaniel, because Nathaniel is just going to burn the fortune. In other words, Nathaniel will have, Eva will of course be able to look after Nathaniel. She's not saying Nathaniel has to be cast out into the streets. It's just it would be better if Eva was in charge of the actual finances of the house.
Oh, of course. So you really just must shepherd him in the correct direction. It's the moral thing to do.
Exactly, of course. And if it turns to unchristian, the turmoil is whether it's truly Christian to be doing this, because it's a little bit sneaky, to say the least.
That works for me.
So do I spend that token and give it to the vicar, or? Cool.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Let me just do that then.
And also, just to we kind of did it through thing, but yeah, obviously, when you, just as a reminder for everyone, but the way when you're spending a token specifically on another character, basically you always have the option to say, yeah, no, that's cool, go ahead with it. To refuse and say, no, I'd rather we didn't do that, or to essentially say, I will accept it on the condition that we change it to be a bit more like this, and then obviously it goes back to the originator to say whether they're happy or not. But so we've done that through chat anyway, but just as a quick reminder on that while we're talking about it. But awesome. So yeah, David or Robbie, do you have a second scene epistolary phase thing you would like to do?
I have a quick one. I think that I would just write a letter to Isaac, essentially entrusting him with my deepest, darkest thoughts that I think Eva has something to do with the incarceration of my father. And so I think that I'll just fill Isaac in on that. And so the letter will read something like, my dearest Isaac, it is so good to have you in town once again. It has been so difficult seeing you gone for these many, many months and perhaps years. I wish to, unfortunately, welcome your arrival with a most grim portent of the future. You see, I have in the last year, I have fallen into a great suspicion that the incarceration of my father, whom by your own admission you have loved so much in the past, that he was incarcerated at the request of Eva. You understand that the Gracefields and the Nashes have long been at odds with one another, though I personally view it as something of a one-sided conflict. But with that being said, I wish to meet with you at some point and discuss my worries and concerns in greater detail, for fear that Eva and perhaps her family, more broadly speaking, may strike again and may also commit some even more grievous act in the future, having been emboldened by the blood of my father that surely rests upon Eva's hands. Fondly yours, Abigail.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And yeah, finally, Robbie, do you have a last one to close us out on?
Yeah, so I think this will be a private letter that Lempster sends to Nathaniel. And in the letter, Lempster writes, it was good seeing you at the funeral, and I, like others, noticed that you and Modesty Montgomery seem to be having a wonderful conversation. Please don't believe that what I am writing here would be motivated by jealousy. I wish only the best for you. But I would also not be deceived by Mrs. Montgomery's name, Modesty. She, clearly on the funeral of her husband doesn't seem like the most appropriate time for her to be striking up relationships with other eligible men. I was actually happy to hear that you had a prospect in France, and please weigh your options carefully, and I do hope that we will have more time to discuss this and other matters in the near future. Lempster.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, everyone. So that is the end of our first epistolary phase. So the next thing we'll be doing is going back into another novel chapter, which is to say, basically, we'll be just playing out some scenes again, as we did last time. So we, as I said, like we discussed last time, we've kind of got a couple of different options here, which are broadly, we can have kind of another big event scene like we did last time, where there's sort of something going on that brings everyone into its orbit, more or less, or at least all of our main characters into its orbit. Or we can have a series of visits where we just have some sort of like smaller scale scenes between different characters. Or we can have like one of these sort of split scenes where we have like a couple of events going on at once and split between the two. I'm probably edging more towards going for some a visit scene, but I just want to check what other people's thoughts are. Does that sound good to people? Just break out in some sort of smaller scenes between each other.
My only note against the visit scene would be that everyone hasn't met Isaac.
That is fair. And I mean, we could address some of that through some of the visits, or yeah, if people want to have kind of a bigger thing, we can. And like I said, if we want to have something in that, so that's also fine. But yeah, I'm sort of good going into visits, though, if everyone else is happy, and can kind of work some of that out in as we go through. Cool. So before we do that, we'll take a quick break. We take just over 5 minutes, I come back at 22, and we'll pick things up again there. So I'll see you all shortly. Perfect. So yeah, we'll hop into some scenes. So obviously, obviously we can set up scenes between one or more of our main characters and or connections, depending on what we want to see. There's as ever no real sort of formal requirements for this section. We'll aim to get like everyone to like pick and frame a scene at least once, and then we'll see how we're getting on. If we want to do another round or add some more scenes, or just move on to the next phase, we'll see how we get when we get to that point. So I guess, does anyone want to kick off with the first scenes? Does anyone have an idea of something they want to see at this stage? Cool. So in if no one else has any immediate ideas, I think where I would like to start off is perhaps with Isaac visiting Abigail, and we'll play out that scene, see how it goes. So yeah, I think it will be, Isaac doing the formal visit thing to Abigail's home, or the home Abigail is living in now. And I guess I will leave it up to both Abigail and then Robbie and Anders as to whether Florence and Tabitha will be kind of in this scene, or if we just want to start out with just the two of us and then maybe add them in later or whatever. I'm happy however we choose to do that. And do people have any thoughts?
That works for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is a formal visit, so do you imagine this is one that was announced ahead of time, so everybody kind of knows that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think probably actually like a scheduled appointment rather than just sort of dropping in.
Mm-hmm.
So I envision that, shall we say, maybe high noon, kind of an afternoon tea sort of visit, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Good. I mean, I don't want to speak for the household at large, but I envision that the house that Abigail lives in is, again, a fairly upper middle class kind of thing. They have a cook and a number of servants who live in a separate building, and they have a boy who attends to your horse and will stable it for you while you make your way up, and just, servant will take your coat and hat at the door and that sort of thing. And I imagine maybe Lady Abigail is in a kind of a receiving room of sorts, where someone will bring out the tea and other such things.
Yeah, Isaac will step inside, and he's wearing kind of riding boots and breeches, and his he's going to sort of come in and offer a bow to Abigail and say, "Lady Nash, it's a delight to see you again."
It is the highest point of my month, being able to see you again. It has been so long. Please do sit down, and you're welcome to be at ease. How have you been?
Most well, thank you, milady. And he'll take a seat. I completed my studies, as you know, and I've been spending some time with some further studies in the law with a firm down in London. But it's lovely to be back up in the north again, and of course to see yourself. And I was, of course, much troubled to hear of the fate of your poor father. You of course have my utmost sympathies.
Indeed. In truth, I am actually quite envious that you have been able to be away all these years. I feel that with the unjust incarceration of my father, there is little left for me in this small town. Nothing seems to remain but feuds between families and rumors spread back and forth, ultimately amounting to nothing more than broken hearts and shattered reputations. I fear that by returning here, you have perhaps invited all of those things and more into your own life, and I feel obligated to, at least on some level, make you aware.
Thank you, Thank you, Lady Nash. That's most kind of you to give me the warning. But I am sure that I shall not draw the attention of such types. I am hardly a name to speak of, and I hope that the troubles your family have been facing do not adversely affect you, and perhaps, as you say, you may be able to look for some manner of moving on from this place.
I also wish not for you to draw the attention of the vultures that encircle my household, and it is for that reason that I come to you under the most clandestine of auspices to request your assistance in a very disturbing matter surrounding the Gracefield family and the role that they, in particular, the eldest daughter Eva, has played in the disappearance of my father.
Well, Abigail, if there is anything that I can do, I will do my utmost to do so. Tell me what leads you to believe that she has had a hand in your father's fate.
Well, you are clearly a man of education, and you are well learned and are of a high status and come from a good family. It is beyond me to explain in great detail, but I have, in the last 6 to 12 months, been doing a fair amount of research on my own. I've spoken in detail with the constable and have obtained all manner of various legal documents that I'm sure I could find some way to provide you access. And in short, I have a fair amount of evidence to my name suggesting that the charges that were brought against my father were trumped up, if not wholly fabricated. And I suspect that this was done intentionally, with the earnest intention of dethroning him from his seat in town and besmirching my family's reputation, all for reasons that amount to little more than, if I may be so judgmental, petty jealousy.
Well, that is. Go ahead.
I come to you, Isaac, again, a man of such high social status and such high reputation as yourself, to act as a voice of reason. I'm afraid that so many of the individuals who hold high positions in this town have lost their minds to a fervor and madness that is wholly based upon folly. You, with your groundedness and your consciousness, I feel should perhaps speak to those who are of high standing, be it the vicar or perhaps others who have some sway over Eva or the Gracefield family's reputation, more broadly speaking. I hope that you will be able to succeed where I am unable to, because you have a certain standing that has been unjustly robbed from me. And so I come to you from the place of a friend in need to help restore my family's reputation, to exact retribution for my father's unjust incarceration, and to help restore this town to the rightful order that it has long fallen away from since your departure. Would you be willing to do that? And I fervently agree with what's in the chat here. This calls for a token to have some kind of evidence, and I think I would also offer a resolve token to you as well to ask for your assistance.
Yeah.
In your commitment to this. So I'm burning through both of my resolve tokens here. If all goes well.
No.
I was going to say.
Sorry, what I was saying is you could hit the Eva rumor though. You don't need to use your resolve tokens.
Oh, I didn't see that part.
So that's what I
So-
meant. Like the rumor is this is absolutely. Sorry, I was making sure I got it because this is everyone knows this. This is clearly true.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you can absolutely cash in that rumor to basically to have some evidence for what you're saying. I think is absolutely fair. So essentially what we'll do there is we'll cross off that rumor. So this is still something that is potentially being talked about, but kind of we've exhausted the power of it now. That token that sort of essentially generates like a phantom token.
So that counts as a resolve token.
It does, yeah.
fundamentally. So I still have to
Which-
burn one more probably though.
So yeah, you probably will also have to do one to persuade me of your own. But so what we'll do, we'll just sort of touch onto that one first. So because that is essentially getting that evidence is something that will kind of adversely affect Eva. So what we'll do is with that kind of that like I said, that pseudo resolve token will get offered to Eva. So Eva, you have the opportunity at this point to say no, absolutely cool with having the evidence. You can put some conditions on that, or you can just say no.
The only condition is like it's one of these things where we don't. I think we need to establish at some point quite soon what he did or what he didn't do. Like we're floating around it. The whole kind of like what evidence, my yes or no depends on what sort of evidence it is, and that depends on us knowing what the crime is. I guess that's the. I just whatever it is, I'm up for it.
Sure.
Speaking broadly, but I just think that kind of we probably need to know what he's done. What that.
Sure. Well, I'm looking here at the bit that we put on the chat about the reasons why people of high social standing might still be transported. And it seems to me that these are either very kind of vague, like they just annoyed someone a lot, all the way up to they murdered someone or something to that effect. So I suppose it could be as scandalous or not scandalous as we choose, depending on what my father's reputation was to begin with. If he had a terrible reputation and they were looking for a reason to ship him off, then it might not take much. But if he was a high-standing person and was beloved in the community, then it would have to be something very, very intense.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I had a quick glance at that list as well. I'm wondering, like again as well, especially if there is this idea of there having been a feud between the families that was kind of extant anyway. If maybe something like improper conduct in a duel or something like that might be something that would work.
That's fine by me. I keep thinking that attractive men dueling was a wish or something like that during
Exactly.
session 0.
It's sort of like a duel will always lead to another duel. That's the thing about duels. It never really ends, does it?
Yeah, it's also something that's heavily dependent on witnesses who may or may not be telling the truth and so on.
So the improper conduct, I mean, the example here is that someone actually ended up firing their weapon in a gentleman's duel. And I take it that the assumption there is that the duel is a formality and that there's no expectation that anybody actually fires a shot. But in the case, in the example here, it looks like someone did. And for that, they were charged with murder and sent away or something like that.
Yeah. Or sometimes I think it's like if essentially one person shoots first and then the other person still like takes the shot or that sort of thing, that seems like because you're essentially, if the other person fires you and you're basically supposed to go, fair cop, and
it's the I yield, no, you're dead.
Yeah.
it's the harshest version of it.
Yeah. And I get the thing, probably not something quite to that level where they actually necessarily killed someone, unless we want to go that way. But yeah, maybe just, we can leave the exact nature of it, like again, abstract because
I could see a scenario in which perhaps his, and I don't know if this historically falls in line with what the conduct for duel preparation looked like, but I could see a situation in which perhaps his weapon had the opportunity to have been sabotaged in some way. It originally wasn't going to be loaded, and yet it was when he drew it. And there is some speculation that he didn't know it at the time, and that someone did that clandestinely, and that might have been either Eva personally or at the orders of Eva, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest that he did not know.
Can I I'm absolutely so Eva is not that I'm able to be meddling, but Eva's absolutely not that evil. Like that's the kind of I'll X that as a statement, as an Eva is not going to murder somebody.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like she's a meddler and in those kind of levels, but she's not that bad.
I'm actually completely okay with Abigail being completely wrong about Eva's involvement. I think that it's totally acceptable that you take the token and say yes, but the so-called evidence that Abigail has is completely bogus. And has been essentially made up in her head, if not planted herself. So, no, there's no necessity that Eva is in fact a terrible person for any of this to work in my head, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. I'm wondering if maybe maybe it's something along the lines of Ava was a witness to the duel. I should say sorry. Was a not a witness in the sense of was a participant in the duel, but was a witness in the sense they actually oversaw the duel, and maybe what they saw was. Maybe they misunderstood what they had seen, but essentially they were the person that kind of informed on what had happened. Does that make sense? That Eva did kind of was the person who told the local magistrate or whatever that this had happened, but they may have been mistaken about what they saw.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's kind of the sort of thing I was more thinking. It's like she would definitely grass someone up, but like that kind of seeing it and reporting it, and mistakenly or not, seems like, and that's enough, I guess. Especially if she reported it maliciously. I said he definitely shot her in the back, or he definitely shot when the other person's arms weren't raised, or whatever it takes to make it a bad duel. And I'm fine with whatever you think that should be, definitely, as in what because it's like I would have made that testimony. I could have been mistaken about what I saw as well.
That sounds reasonable to me. And I'll leave it to you as to if it was done with ill intent versus whether it was an honest mistake versus whether you reported completely accurately and truthfully, and Abigail is just unwilling to accept that fact.
Cool. I think that will end up defining. But at some later point, someone's going to spend some tokens and solidify that, I suspect. But at the moment, I'm quite happy to leave it open in that way. But, oh yeah, I absolutely saw something and reported something, and it led to it going down.
Awesome, cool. And yes, you as well, Eva, you do get a resolve token essentially for that because, like I said, we essentially generate one from that rumor for you. So yeah, awesome. And for myself, yeah, I think it's fair. I think if you would like to spend a resolve token just from your personal stash, Abigail, and I will gladly accept that. I won't impose any conditions on that. Isaac is quite happy to have a look into this on Abigail's behalf.
Yeah, that works for me.
Awesome. Cool. And I think, unless there was anything else you wanted to do, I think that's probably that's probably that's scene done with, unless unless you wanted to add any last words, but I think that's a good point to cut out on. Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to go to I'm going to ask Nathaniel, was there a scene that you would like to frame up?
I was thinking of maybe a family dinner with the Gracefields, like the extended family. So we have, I mean, there are other characters who could be present, invited as guests or the like.
Yeah, sure thing. That sounds good to me. If people are cool with that.
So this is you said with the Gracefield family. So is it going to be Eva, Edgar, Augustus?
Yeah, probably. Those all make sense to me. And I mean, if who is left out, David S. If you want to see, maybe not the Reverend. Esther.
I mean, the Reverend's got tokens to spend, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just, yeah, maybe. I mean, sure. I mean, if you want to bring one of your characters, that's perfectly fine. Abigail, probably not that likely, but you know, if you want to.
That's fine. I can bring the good Reverend along.
Yeah, so maybe this is maybe I think this is Nathaniel trying to I think he's invited the Reverend to try to put some of these horrible rumors to rest, like to show that, oh, we're a perfectly nice, respectable family, and nothing can possibly go wrong with this. And maybe he wasn't expecting Augustus to show up, but now he's there, and yeah.
That works for
awesome.
me.
That sounds good.
And there is an ongoing. It doesn't look like it's in the rumor and scandal tab, but just as part of Augustus's just what we know about him, it sounds like it's a common rumor that he is a member of some kind of
something rather
problematic sect. Yes.
Yeah.
In the same way, my family's just ill reputed. You know, it's just a dodgy family to be connected with. It's all the poetry.
Yeah, so I think this is I just picture that we're at the big dinner table, and we've just been served the main course. We've gotten through the preliminaries without anyone embarrassing themselves too much or breaking out into a fight or something. But yeah. And I think Nathaniel is trying to engage the Reverend in conversation about philosophy or theology or something.
Yeah, I think the Reverend is up for that sort of conversation. I think that the Reverend is going to be rather cagey, not completely at ease, in part because of the reputation of the household in which he finds himself, but also because I think he is still at least somewhat perturbed by Nathaniel's conduct during the funeral from last time, although I think he might be a bit too polite to explicitly recognize that.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Reverend. A well-made point there about the folly of the Gnostics. Surely such silly superstition would never find purchase in England's good green land.
Yes, yes. That and all other forms of Unitarianism are indeed a scourge upon the good church that our Lord has so graciously provided unto us. On a lighter note, if you don't mind my changing the topic a bit, I was curious if you had any thoughts in mind of, and I guess I'm kind of speaking out of character here, if it would make sense for Spencer to bring the topic of families or marriage to Nathaniel. In particular, I guess he's trying to kind of poke around here a little bit and see to what extent Nathaniel has his eye set on modesty, and he's going to kind of use that as a way of judging Nathaniel's character if that's not disclosing too much information to everybody. Okay, in that case, I'll have Spencer say something to the effect of, well, if it isn't too garish and jarring a transition, I was curious to ask whether you had yourself any plans for marriage or for perhaps the family name moving forward. I couldn't help but notice that at the funeral you seemed to be very well attentive to the widow Montgomery, and while I much appreciate that you would look to the well-being of others, I also recognize that your own family must come first, and I was curious if you had any thoughts as to the trajectory that your family and you, as a good God-fearing man, might be intending to take in the coming years.
Eyeing up a widow, eh, lad? That's good. You know what they say about widows. And Augustus is going to take a big swig of wine.
Sure, I don't. Anyway, modesty
experienced.
is clearly a dear friend. We have known each other for years, and I simply wanted to offer her some comfort in her difficult times. And I do apologize for if my attempts to soothe her pain during the sermon were inappropriate. I just couldn't let her suffer alone in silence.
Well, Nathaniel, this is the first I've heard, Nathaniel, that you know, at the funeral that you were engaged with modesty. You know, I do wish that, you know, you would feel free to come to me in advice on such matters. I would be more than happy to kind of help to direct you in you know, matters of the ladies, as it were. But Reverend, I hardly, you know, think that you need to get overly worked up about this. I mean, you know, they're young. You know, I remember when I was a young man, I didn't always you know, obey the laws of pure propriety, but you know, we have to be practical in such matters.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I think Nathaniel leans in towards the Reverend to speak softly so that the others I can't hear. You see what I have to contend with. It's not easy to find an appropriate match with these old men constantly trying to meddle.
I think that will land with the Reverend, who up until now was rather scrutinizing of Nathaniel, but I think he will nod somewhat knowingly and look with a bit of irritation over at Augustus, and he'll respond, Robbie, you're taking Edgar at this time, right?
Yes.
I think he'll respond to Edgar and say, of course. It is no impropriety here. I simply means to state that while Nathaniel's motives are clearly of good Christian intent, it is also important to note that such individuals who have recently suffered a loss are quite vulnerable to matters of the heart. They are searching for intimacy and for a strong shoulder to lean upon, and we must be mindful that we have a responsibility not to misuse individuals when they are in such dire straits. No implication that you have done so, of course, Nathaniel. I simply mean to act as a precaution.
Yes, very, very good point you make there, Reverend. So, Nathaniel, this widow, I don't suppose you happen to know the pension situation, do you?
I'm sure modesty is well provided for, but
excellent.
She's also recently widowed for the second time, and I believe it would be appropriate to allow her at least a year of mourning before trying to engage her in any kind of discussion on marital matters.
Oh, of course. You know me. I'm well into the propriety and such like. Also, I think I would like at this moment, because again I've not used that mechanic yet. I would like to spend my monologue token on Ava. What sort of? I'm assuming that Ava is also present at this meal, and I think I would like to see what Ava's thoughts are on everything that she is being subjected to currently.
Well, Ava's main thought is how if I ram this carving knife through any object, would anyone notice? There's that level of. I'm not sure if this is indelicate for a lady to think of, but I have noticed there are several bladed weapons around the room. If only I had the strength and the ability to duel, my life would be very different this evening. It's just complicated. It's one of these situations where it's just a low level of like I think there's a level of confusion I think she feels at this point. As in, the vicar is absolutely, the good Reverend has completely told me to try to bring down her brother, and he seems to be being very kind to him. Like, what manner of game is the vicar playing, and who are the pieces here? How can Nathaniel be speaking, but these quiet words aside? There's a game going on here, and no one is taking it seriously. And she just wants to broadly be over. And it's like, I cannot believe they're playing with this woman's affections. So, I mean, it's very clear that I think she's quite committed. And I imagine that at the end of the monologue, she says, brother, I do think she may be more interested than you believe. And at this point, I'd like to spend a token from modesty. And a gift arrives. And it's been brought in, and it's a peacock. And a little note attached for Nathaniel, saying, I saw this and thought of you, yours, Montgomery. If that's okay with you, Nathaniel?
Yep.
And Eva looks over the table at Nathaniel and kind of raises an eyebrow and does that kind of disapproving sister glance, which she's had a lot of practice of.
Oh, I do apologize for this disturbance. I fear dear Modesty's grief has quite gone to her head. So Augustus, as you can see, she is indeed well provided for, but she can lavish such expensive gifts on a mere friend.
I think I'd quite like to hear your monologue right now, if that's all right.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, I'd quite like to spend my monologue token now on you, just to have the I want to, behind the mask at this moment.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so close to getting the Reverend on my side, and with his with that I would be able to establish myself away from my family as a respected member of this of society, and not be dragged down by these old men and my sister's scheming. I could find a match that would buy me some respectability, and well, dear Modesty is nice. Oh, she's nice looking enough, and would probably be entertaining, but mere money is not enough to get me what I want and what I need.
I quite like Nathaniel's a romantic at his heart, despite
Well, kind of. I mean, he's a pragmatist, but he comes from a family of poets, so.
Yeah, I think Edgar turns to Augustus and says, "Well, seems like our young Nathaniel has made quite the impression on Ms. Montgomery, and somebody named Modesty who gives a peacock. That kind of contrast is so this woman. I hardly took notice of her at the funeral, but she does seem to be an intriguing one, doesn't she?"
Indeed, and a fine bird indeed.
At this point, I think the peacock actually relieves itself. And then Eva stands up sharply. Well, I have to go and clean up your mess again, Nathaniel, I suppose. I need to get rid of this enormous bird. Excuse me, Reverend. Excuse me, gentlemen. And she kind of goes and sort of arranges the servants to scoop up the various remains and takes the peacock to God knows where. But we now have a place where peacocks live, and I'm going to have to Google in the next break where peacocks live word.
Yes, the dulcet tones of being woken up by peacocks in the morning. That's
I think that's the scene, unless someone has something to add.
The Reverend will just say, "Oh dear," but yeah, he can say nothing more.
Excellent. Cool. So we're coming up to half past, but I'm going to ask: does anyone have another quick scene that they want to frame up with again either one of their main characters or one of their connections with someone else's character?
Lempster's a meddler. I want to see Lempster meddle in something because Lempster's in a scene. Yeah, and it does have I don't know what it is, but I want to see Lempster what meddling looks like.
Lempster, I mean, there's only so much room to meddle here, but maybe I'm just not being creative. Lempster did get the request from Esther to meet to discuss marriage, and perhaps he could use that to his advantage in some way, but that's just one idea.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, because yeah, to follow up on that would be good. And right, it's not really established yet. Well, I guess now it is starting to kind of get established a little bit more clearly what Esther's kind of leanings might be. I mean, Lempster, I mean, these are kind of close friends, or kind of long-term friends, but yeah, but well, yeah, no, that would be good. I mean, I think that a scene between the two of them would help to kind of get things kind of solidified in terms of where they are heading with respect to each other. I'm trying to think of it like just to frame the scene, where would it make most sense for this to take place?
I mean, you could do anything, in my mind at least, you could do anything from a formal receipt of Lempster at the Battyl estate. You could do that. Alternatively, it could simply be an intimate, sexually charged stroll through the garden where nobody is there until someone inevitably spends a resolve token to be eavesdropping. That kind of thing would work as well in my view too. So it's all good.
Yeah, maybe a kind of like a stroll, like maybe a kind of just going out. I'm thinking maybe not a garden, but just kind of like going out into nature to maybe there's a prominent hilltop that gives you a nice kind of panorama of the surroundings, and is a kind of common place that people will kind of hike off, make a very brief kind of hike off to kind of get a kind of view of the countryside.
Yeah. So I think that Esther will perhaps, because of course she has romantic intentions, she will have perhaps packed some kind of picnic. And so she has some sort of nice, airy, floral gown, modest and good for walking about in the heat in. And she has a small bag or a basket with her that's got some manner of light luncheon items. And I think that she'll arrive, or perhaps you will maybe be requested to arrive to pick her up, and you'll be out walking with her, if that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, and I think Lempster says, "Oh, here I see you've packed something here. Let me take the weight off of you there," and kind of offers to take the basket that has been packed. And as they're walking, Lempster says, "So Esther, I got your note, and it sounds like your family is putting a little bit of pressure on you."
Well, it's not so much pressure in my thoughts as simply well, if you'll forgive my being so direct, it's simply the natural outcome of a goal that our families have agreed to for many years now, don't you think?
Well, yes, I certainly agree. It's been the goal of our families, and I think we've seen this. I mean, we've talked about this. I just Esther, I mean, we've had such a great relationship with each other. I would hate to do anything to spoil it.
I mean, my good. Are they on a first name basis at this point? Should I be calling you Lempster or Mr. Marwood?
I think we are, like, when we're in this kind of a scene, I imagine that we are first name.
Okay. Lempster, I truly appreciate your concern for the relationship that we have, and in the same way, I am concerned for you. I see the way that you hang around with your old friends, Nathaniel, and I understand that Isaac has recently returned to town, and I'm afraid that they are distracting you from the responsibilities that you have to your own family. What of the Marwood name? What of um, the gains to be had by cementing the Marwoods as a true force for good in this community? Surely you don't mean to sacrifice that.
Well, I must say that I'm. It's hard to respond to that. I wouldn't do anything willfully to harm my family, of course, but that the idea that I have to bear the weight of my family on my shoulders, that idea just I bristle at it. I mean, that I find at points that my family, it's almost like they have me in chains, in shackles, requiring me to kind of be the one who has to kind of follow this narrow path. This path in front of us is far more appealing to me. And he kind of gestures out, and it's, kind of we're walking up to the hillside, and we kind of see the world in front of us. And he gestures out there, and he says, I spent that time in Europe, and it was so freeing and so liberating to me that the idea that I need to be kind of tied to this area, doing good for this community, that there are plenty of people around to be able to bolster this community. It doesn't have to be me.
May I ask you a question, Lempster? But before you answer, I must say that if you accept my question, I ask that you be completely and utterly honest with me.
Sure. I think we've always been pretty honest with each other.
I fear that your reluctance to tie yourself to me, to my family, to this town, is in some way because you have tied yourself to another. Not a woman, perhaps, but, well, I have heard things of your travels in Europe and of others that you have perhaps come across. And I mean to ask you, is there another, if not woman, a brotherhood, perhaps?
You're asking me to be honest, but you seem to speak in a somewhat riddling fashion. By a brotherhood, are you referring to those rumors that I have taken up with some secret society?
Her eyes are welling up with tears as she is forced to acknowledge this directly. Yes, Lempster, I have heard terrible things, and I am afraid that it will bring ruin to your family and to mine.
And Lempster, if Esther is crying at this point, I think Lempster, from his past with Esther, it doesn't like to see that. And so he takes out a handkerchief, gives it to Esther, and also kind of hugs her, to kind of give her, and says, I will give you an honest answer, Esther, but before I do so, I need to think about things.
I would like to spend a resolve token at this point to have Susanna Collingwood turn up on the scene, if that is okay with you, Lempster.
Yeah, no, that would be fine.
Yeah. So I think this is the point. I think so I've just marked on the sheet. So yeah, I think it's obviously it's at that point where you've got an arm around Esther. Susanna Collingwood, the Reverend's wife, kind of crests the hill and just stops and stands there for a moment, mouth agape, and then sort of marches up and says, "Mr. Marwood, whatever do you think you're doing? Take your hands off of this young lady at once. Can you not see the poor child is in distress?"
Lempster kind of surprised to see the Reverend's wife there is kind of takes a few steps back and says, what brings you out here? All that's here is the hilltop. What was driving you to follow us?
I was out here gathering flowers for decorating the church, and not bringing some young unchaperoned lady up here for the Lord knows what sort of mischief, Mr. Marwood.
Miss Collingwood, I fear that your imagination maybe is getting the best of you. I mean, surely you know that me and Miss Battyl have been friends since childhood. I mean, this is hardly some salacious tryst that we're having. We're just friends talking about our problems and having a wonderful time out kind of taking a view of the prospect before us.
Well, I would hardly say that Miss Collingwood seems to be having a very good time. Are you quite all right, dear? And she kind of comes over to Susanna and pats her on the shoulder.
I think that she has buried her face in her gloved hands and has the basket kind of down about her elbow and is like, so. And in an effort not to come across as too pitiful in front of the vicar's wife of all people, she wipes her tears and says, I am all right, Miss Collingwood. Thank you for your concern. I am fine. She's clearly not fine.
Do you wish me to escort you back to the village, my dear? You do seem rather out of sorts.
All kind of out of character, do you feel like this is an okay place to end the scene, Lempster? Or is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think it would be fine to end it there. And I think that you see kind of Lempster left by himself on the hilltop, kind of looking out and kind of, clearly trying to sort out what he should do at this point.
I think prior to that, if this is okay with everybody, I think Esther will accept Susanna's offer, but she will turn to Lempster and say, very well, I will give you the time that you need to think, but understand that I cannot wait forever. At some point, my heart must be betrothed to another, and while I wish it to be you, I understand that it cannot always be so. Please do not tarry. And she will kind of summon up the greatest amount of courage that she can, not to burst into tears a second time before leaving, kind of taking off with Susanna. Is there anything that you would say to that, or do you want to leave it there?
Yeah, I think that Lempster would say, Esther, please just give me time, and I will make this promise to you that that what I do will be the right thing.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I think if we will call that scene there. We'll take another quick break. So if we come back about 1:45, what we'll do, I'll just when we do get back, I'll just check in if there's any final scenes people want to do. If so, we'll do them. If not, we'll move on to our reputation phase, and then hopefully fit in our last epistolary phase as well. But yeah, see you back in about 5 minutes time. Okay, awesome. So yeah, we will conclude our novel chapter there, and therefore move into our next step, which is just the reputation, our sort of like cleanup step for that, for recording people's changes in reputations. So I feel like this time we might see a little bit more movement on this one. Well, I got lost. I have just. Sorry, bear with me 1 minute. I'm just going to get open my. I always forget which sheet, which of these. Yeah. So the family background is where we have our reputation criteria. Actually, are these on the? No, they're not. Cool. Yeah. So we'll go through our questions, and again, I'll go through these in Couchkeeper order as normal, just for ease on my brain. Eva, we are you're the ill-reputed. So for you, for positive tags, we are looking at whether you acted in the service of duty or morality in a way that compromised your desires, acted in obedience to society's conventions despite considerable hardship in doing so, or made a sacrifice or denied your own desires to show you're not like the rest of your family. Do you feel like you hit on any of those?
I must admit, I think they're all no. The only possible yes is in the middle, but that's kind of it was like me cleaning up the peacock is not considerable hardship. That's mild hardship and leaving dinner before dessert. So I think no.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And negative, did you act in contravention of society's conventions, act on desire in a way that compromised your duty or morality, or publicly defended any member of your family?
I think that's nope as well. But I mean, we should probably include the epistolary. There's a word I can't say.
Yes.
As well, so would me? I'm trying to think. Me writing to the Lord when he is away. I've just really thought of that maybe acts in contravention of society's conventions. So me writing to the Lord might be a contravention.
I can see that. Yeah, that's that.
Like, would anyone disagree, or was that okay with that? I'll take something like boundaries, like doesn't know her place, or like up climbing or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Awesome, thank you. And then next on to Nathaniel, which is obviously going to be the same questions. Positive, we have acted in the service of duty or morality in a way that compromised your desires, acted in obedience to society's conventions despite considerable hardship in doing so, or made a sacrifice or denied your own desires to show you're not like the rest of your family.
I don't think anything I did quite reaches the level of compromising my desires or making a real sacrifice.
Yeah, I suppose what my question here is, do you think you're kind of I guess the question, I suppose my question would be, do you think that Nathaniel actually does have feelings for modesty? Because if so, then I think actually you probably did there. But if he's not really all that into her after all, then maybe not. But
I think he views marrying modesty as the easy way out, I suppose.
Right.
It would be comfortable, practical. She does have money. She does have a good name, but it wouldn't get him what he really wants. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, he does have strong feelings for her.
Yeah,
but
I feel like there's a yes in there. I think that like. I definitely feel like I think you get close enough anyway. Put it that way. I think that's probably worth taking a positive reputation tag there if you would like. Awesome. So next it's myself. So my one.
I should check my negative ones as well.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I went on far ahead. So acting in contravention of society's conventions, acting on desire in a way that compromised your duty or morality, or publicly defended any member of your family.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think you went to quite the level of I think you were defending your family's good name, but that's not what the trigger is for you. So yeah. I don't think that's so that's cool. Perfect. So we'll go then to me next. So I gain a positive tag for service of duty and morality, obedience to society's conventions, and securing a personal invitation from someone of higher social status than yourself. And yeah, I did achieve that third one, I think, although I think that's the only one I did. I gain a negative tag if I acted in contravention of society's conventions, acted on desire in a way that compromised your duty or morality, or acted in an uncouth, low class, or vulgar manner. I don't think I hit any of those, so I will add in a positive tag for myself shortly. And next up, we have Lady Nash with the peerage. So, once again, acted in the service of duty or morality in a way that compromised your desires, acted in obedience to society's conventions despite considerable hardship in doing so, or made a sacrifice or denied your desires to uphold the superiority of your rank.
I don't think so to any of those, on the basis that I was acting in the service of a perceived duty or morality, but it wasn't in a way that compromised my desires, incurred hardship, or anything along those lines.
No, that's fair. Your desires and your duty were kind of aligned there.
Right.
Yeah, cool. And gain a negative tag if you acted in contravention of society's conventions, acted on desire in a way that compromised your duty or morality, or allowed others of lesser rank to talk down to you or treat you as an inferior.
I'm not completely sure. I'm just not sure if asking Isaac to investigate this grand narrative that Nash has in her head about her father. I don't know if that is in contravention of society's conventions, or if it wouldn't be.
I would say I think probably actually, yeah, I think it probably does. Just I think there's specifically the fact that you made a point of this being something to be done like discreetly and so on and so forth. That kind of gave it a bit of a shady.
Yeah, it's underhanded.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense. So in that case, that would bring me up to 3 negative tags. How does that play
Interesting.
out?
Yeah. So what happens now is we need to look at your role playbook. So which is in the character role sheets. So you'll see under your role, I forget which one you're after.
Dependent.
Dependent. Yep. Cool. So on the dependent, you'll see there on the bottom right of that page. You'll see there are 2 conditions there marked with a downwards arrow on them. And these are basically negative things. So you pick one of those. One of those is not welcome here, where one of those you dependent makes it clear you are no longer welcome in the house and you must find somewhere else to stay. Or fracture, where someone close to you is appalled by your behavior and refuses to talk to you.
Anders, how would you feel if all of the rumors and so forth begin to pile up and Tabby decides that I just can't bear to be around you, I've heard too many terrible things, and that's the target of the fracture?
Yeah, sure. That works.
Cool. And basically, the way this works is that condition, that fracture condition, that now sticks around until we hit a reputation phase again, and you have dropped. Is it until we? Yeah, I think it is. Next time we hit a reputation thing, or each time we hit a reputation thing, if you're the number of negative reputation tags you have drops below 3, then that disappears essentially.
Okay. Although actually, I might have screwed up here. Didn't we start with 2 reputation tags?
We start with 1, and I think you picked up 1 last time. So yeah, you would be. Oh, sorry. No, yeah, sorry. I see what you mean. Yes, we start off with. You start off with 2 reputation tags, but those are different to the reputation bits on the. It annoys me there isn't like a specific name for those. So I could just get down to them reputation effects. But yeah, so the reputation tags are things like those are again on your family background sheet. So for instance, positive tags for peerage are things like influential, austere, wise, famous, giving, and the negative tags are vain, proud, vengeful, incompetent, or mean-spirited.
And we're only allowed to pick up 1 of those.
So you'll
at the start, because I think I messed that up during character creation.
Yeah,
okay,
no
well,
worries.
In the interest of keeping things the way they are and not doubling back, I need to get rid of one of my reputation tags and switch.
Oh, no, so you will start off with 1 positive and 1 negative. So you'll be you have the right thing down. So yeah, and you will have indeed hit that third tag this time.
Okay.
Which means you will have that fracture thing. But yeah, I think there was just some confusion over that. But it's
yeah, I need to change the quality of one of the negative reputation tags, but it's still supposed to be there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's no problem.
Very good.
And awesome. So next,
so I've got 3 reputation tags that inflicts a condition, and the condition is going to be fracture, I believe.
Yep.
Okay,
cool.
I think I'm up to speed then.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, that one anyway. And again, next time we'll talk a little bit about how we use up those reputation tags anyway. But cool, thank you. Finally, Robbie, you are old money. So again, positive, we've got the usual: acted in the service of duty or morality in a way that compromised your desires, acted in obedience to society's conventions despite considerable hardship in doing so, and denied your desires or made a sacrifice to uphold the family name. Do you feel like you did any of those?
The one I'm thinking about is whether Lempster kind of allowing Miss Battyl to be kind of taken away by Miss Collingwood, which is probably not what he really wanted to, how he wanted that to end. But I think kind of given that situation, society's conventions maybe would dictate right? That he accede to that.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely fair. So yeah, if you want to take a positive tag for that, and now we'll go on to the negative, and we have again the negative tag. If you acted in contravention of society's conventions, acted on desire in a way that compromised your duty or morality, or shamed or embarrassed the family name.
I don't know. I feel like Lempster, part of it is he's like suspended at this point. He's like, really kind of torn now, but hasn't really made the decision.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's cool. I'd say the only one I'm thinking is maybe yes, is possibly shaming or embarrassing the family name, but I don't know that we've quite got to the point of that with that encounter. So if you think that you want to take one for that, then feel free to do so. But if you don't, then I don't think it quite reached the level where it's going to cause it hasn't yet caused public embarrassment. That may change very, very soon. But yeah, no worries. That's cool. Awesome. So that is the reputation phase done. So we'll embark on. So I think what I might say now is we will do because like I said, we won't be on next week. So I think what I might say is if we'll do like one round of the epistolary phase now, and then start off with one round of it next time. So it gives it, so we can kind of use it almost like as a bit of a recap and a primer for the beginning of the next session, if that works for people.
We also have the upkeep phase, right?
Oh, we do, and we do as well. So, and there's one other thing we'll be doing as part of that. So yeah, we'll kind of come in next time. We'll finish off the epistolary phase and do that upkeep phase. One I will mention something on that once we're done with our first round of epistolary things to give you some time to think on it. But we'll do it properly next time. Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to ask. If anyone has an idea for their first, for their epistolary scene that they would like to do.
Sorry, isn't the upkeep phase?
No, the upkeep phase is the very last thing that we do in the cycle. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, did anyone have an initial epistolary scene they would like to frame up?
I could, unless Anders, you want to do one yourself, I could see Abigail sending a letter to Tabitha where it more or less implies that Tabitha has turned tail and ran, kind of a pleading like, no, I know this really looks bad, but allow me to explain myself, and I will do it through this letter because I know you won't talk to me in person, that kind of thing. Okay, in that case, I suppose we'll have a letter from Abigail to Tabitha, and she'll address her with the pet name. She'll say, my dearest Tabby, I understand that recent events have led you to make the decision to wall yourself off from me and to refuse to speak to me despite my best efforts. It is my greatest hope that this letter will help to at least soften your heart, if not altogether turn your view of me to one that is a bit brighter in disposition. I understand that my recent words and actions have led many to the conclusion that I have a personal vendetta against the Gracefield family as a collective, and I assure you that my intentions are nothing but pure and righteous in intention. I seek not to destroy the reputation of the Gracefield family, but rather to uphold the positive reputation of my own father and your uncle. I wish that you would be able to see these things from my perspective, and also at the same time, I understand that this is quite a lot to bear, and I am with you in bearing this heavy load that I have so unfortunately thrust upon you and your family. If you do find it within your heart to speak to me, you know that I will be more than willing to open or bring you bring you back into my life with open arms, for our talks together have been among the most joyous in my life since the unfortunate incident that led to the downfall of my family. Yours truly, Abigail.
Awesome. Yeah, does someone else have an idea for a scene or a letter or whatever else?
Yeah, Tabitha is going to send an answer back, and I imagine they have their rooms in like opposite parts of the house, so that it's just servants going back and forth with their letters, and I think she will write, "Dear Miss Nash, I am still most disappointed in your inappropriate behavior in pulling in dear poor Isaac in your schemes and vengeful behavior towards the Gracefields. I understand that you are hurt and want to clear your father's name, but you really should set yourself a higher standard. I've always looked up to you, and I am sorely disappointed to see you act in such an underhanded manner. See you for breakfast, Tabby."
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, does anyone else have another one they'd like to do, or I can jump in otherwise? Cool. So yeah, I think I'm going to, because again I haven't seen one yet, so I'm going to frame this one as a dream, and I think we just see Isaac like start awake, and looks over his desk, and we can see kind of like a big, we can hear kind of a bell ringing somewhere outside, and there's a few books and stuff piled up on his desk, and a big like sheet of blank paper, which he looks like stares at in shock, and he's obviously frantically trying to write an essay that's presumably due in, but hasn't been completed, and as he's kind of doing this, we see the figure of Lord Davenport come into the room. He is shirtless for inexplicable reasons, and sort of takes the pen out of his hand and is like taunting him, and Isaac is sort of trying to get it back whilst Lord Davenport sort of fends him off, and he sort of says, if you cannot complete your essay in time, then I will marry Lady Nash. And then he actually starts awake in his in-room.
Can I jump in with a monologue token there, or are we maybe short on time for that?
Sorry, I muted myself preempt for that. Yeah, no, I think we're probably okay for a quick monologue in there. So yeah, what would you like to ask?
Just Isaac's thoughts as he starts awake from this terrible nightmare.
Yeah, so I think his very, very first thoughts are that moment of bewilderment where he's like, damn it, I haven't done that essay. Wait, no, I don't have any essays to do. That's fine. That was a most strange dream. I've not seen Lord Davenport in also Brutus in some time. I'm sure he has no designs on Lady Nash. Not that I could have any real hope of marrying Abigail. As much as she is a dear friend, she is far too. Her status is far higher than mine, and whilst I'm sure my father would be delighted if I were able to marry a lady of such quality, it would be. I am sure she will have far better offers than I. Maybe Brutus will marry her. That's a distressing thought. But I should probably get up now that I'm awake. And yeah, I think that's yeah, awesome, thank you. So yeah, Eva, Lempster, did either of you have
Yeah, I think Lempster will write a letter to Nathaniel. I think the letter says, Nathaniel, I hope all is well and that your prospects are flourishing. I must say that I was surprised to find that my own prospects for the future seem to have come to something of a crossroads. I thought that your conversation with Miss Montgomery, and I've heard about the gift of the peacock that certainly has that information has made its rounds, and people are kind of looking forward to seeing where that bird may fly. But on my own part, or in terms of my own situation, a matter has occurred that is causing me tremendous uncertainty and, quite frankly, some emotional turmoil. I feel like I need to talk to you soon so that I can sort things out. Yours truly, Lempster.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, finally, Eva, if you would like to cap us off for the evening.
There's probably be some tokens spent in here at some point, but I'll do it, and then I think I know what the tokens will spend. As in, Eva is sitting there, she's sitting in the gardens of her house with a letter, which she's reading aloud to the peacock. Just needs the audience. The peacock sits there, and she's looking for approval. And says, "Okay, what do you think of this? Dear Monsieur, I apologise for my somewhat schoolgirl French, but I would not be so rude to try to write you in English. I understand that a certain Nathaniel Gracefield has been travelling in Europe and has been staying in Europe, and you might have some knowledge of his doings there. I write to you as a concerned there's the pause, and she's sort of thinking about what word she would have written there. Friend. Looking for information upon these events. Anything, if there's any details at all, would be gratefully received, and you'll be thoroughly rewarded. Yours faithfully, a friend, and a series of address at the bottom. And she looks up the peacock, kind of. What do you think? And looks down and kind of like crosses out a la and changes it to some of a proper spelling, and then she seals it in the envelope and posts it. And I suspect there's one token there which is just for the coincidence of knowing someone to write to, if Anders is fine with that. And there's probably another token there and that person writes back with something that's actually useful. But
yeah. To be honest, I think just rolling those two into one thing together is fine. It's
yeah. And linking to that, can I spend the rumor token on that then?
Yeah, absolutely.
In which case, Anders one gets a token and we just cross that out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
I've learnt the rules.
Yeah, basically. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. So yeah, we will leave things there for the evening. As I say, next time when we come back, we will do a second round of epistolary things. I'll make a little note of that just to remind myself. As I like have at the beginning of our game, we'll go over the upkeep thing very quickly because it is only a very short thing. There's one thing that I'll touch on in a minute, and then we'll carry on with it as normal into our second cycle. One thing that we will be doing for our first upkeep cycle, first upkeep of the cycle, first upkeep of the game, is there. Actually, I don't think there's a thing of marking on here. We'll touch on it anyway. But I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we have a thing called inner conflicts, which are essentially, I'm not sure if we'll be playing quite long enough to make them worthwhile, but we may as well introduce them anyway, even if we then don't use them. But the idea of the inner conflict is essentially we'll be setting up a sort of two poles essentially of different things. So it might be classic one, marrying for love, marrying for money, as two opposing poles. And basically, as we do stuff that fills off one or the other, we tick off a thing in the box, and then if you either complete one or just accrue a certain number of points in total, a thing may happen. So that's just something to be like giving some thought on as to what you think would be an interesting dilemma, as it were, for your character to be caught between. But we'll touch on that next time. As I said, it's not a huge thing, but we may as well introduce it, even if we don't end up using it in anger. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to stop recording now.